loves, and welcome to today's video. It is the spooky season, and I am going to do the scariest thing of all, delve into Kindle Unlimited romances. I am a Kobo girly because that's what works with Libby in Canada, so I have never delved into the Kindle Unlimited sphere of books unless it was something that was also traditionally published and available at a library. Recently, one of my friends has taken to finishing our book club off by explaining the Unhinged Kindle Unlimited romances they've been reading recently. It doesn't seem like the books are good, but it seems like a lot of fun. And then I saw this post by Ruby Can Read recommending some Unhinged Halloween romances, and that sounds like a great way to dive in to this genre I have never explored before. So I'm going to be taking you along as I read these recommended Halloween KU romances. The first book on this list is, starting off strong, Hallowpeen by Holly Wilde. So let's get started. Are you saying I'm nothing but a shell of a man? The gentle hands wiping my tears drop down to my neck, tightening only a hint around my throat. Just because my guts have been ripped out doesn't mean I can't rearrange yours. Oh my god, what have I gotten myself into? I don't know anything about sentient rituals. What I've been told is never to leave candy in a bowl because, well, no one wants to summon you. The pain in his eyes make me feel guilty for sharing how the town warns everyone away from him. No one wants to summon him. That's so sad. I was not expecting this emotional connection. I have finished my first ever Kindle Unlimited book, and boy was it a doozy. In Hallowpeen, there's two kind of main storylines. So in the first one, Samantha is told that if she spells I cup, ICUP, in a mere 3 times, she will get transported to this demon world. And she does that, and she ends up having relations with 3 sentient jack-o'-lanterns, basically. And oh boy, the pumpkin spice puns. This was definitely one that is, like, intended to be over the top. The author does not take themselves seriously, like, at all, and I kind of like that vibe. That was plot 1, and then there's plot 2 where her friend back home, there's this like rumor that if you leave candy out after midnight, the man candy will come for you. And this lady accidentally leaves 1 piece of candy in the bowl, so man candy comes up and ties her up with licorice. Overall, I was surprised that it was decently written. I feel like this is now my baseline of what to compare the others to. I'm going to wait until I've read a few more before ranking or rating. This is intended to be unhinged, so it's going to have different standards. So I'm going to bed now. I stayed up way too late to finish this, and I will give you some updates when I've read a second one. The next book in the post is Jack's Head by Siggy Shade, apparently about the Headless Horseman. So the Headless Horseman just took out his junk. Were you expecting a summer squash? Of course not, I blurt. You know what? I kind of was, because in the last one I read, it was a summer squash. That's what it was described as. So you know what? Maybe it's not outside of the realm of possibility to expect that. Okay, Jack? That's the same axe you used to chop off heads? This is a statement, not a question, because there's no way a monster like 16-string Jack would keep a spare one just for the ladies. The flames that fill the pumpkin's eye holes narrow. What of it? You can't put that thing inside me without cleaning it. Yes, 'cause that's the concern. When the axe murderer wants to put his axe in your hole, is he has to clean it first because it's been used to murder people. What is wrong? Oh my god. So I finished Jack's head, and I'm definitely going to move this one above Hallowpeen in terms of unhingedness. Our main character just got engaged to this like rich CEO guy, and he makes her engagement conditional on her blowing his uncles. So she runs away on Halloween night and ends up seeing this ghostly horseman, and they end up messing around in the graveyard. Why did she have both his axe and his pistol shoved in her before anything actually genital? I'm sorry? You had 2 guns in you at the same time. I'm only 2 books in, and we've already had multiple weapons in places they should not be. And she was worried about the cleanliness of it? That was her concern? Was Pony playing this? This definitely ranks higher in unhingedness than Hallowpeen, because Hallowpeen had this kind of like tongue-in-cheek, we know what we're doing in terms of this being a joke. Whereas this one, I am assuming, wasn't actually taking itself seriously, but definitely was taking itself seriously in terms of the spiciness, because there were some very specific kinks. Also, you know, gunplay. Now we're moving on to the next one, which is Jack by Layla Faye. A lot of pumpkin-headed romances. My 3rd pumpkin-headed romance, and so far all 3 of them have had substance that tastes like pumpkin spice. The first one also had gummy bears come out. Okay, I hated that. First of all, way less build-up and world-building compared to the other 2. Second of all, it was a nodding fic out of nowhere. His intention is to breed her. Third of all, the book ends with an epilogue where she's selling his as pumpkin syrup. That doesn't pass any kind of FDA regulations. In terms of enjoyment, lowest of the low right now. In terms of unhingedness, I'm still going to give it to Jack's head so far, because the weapon thing is just... that's unhinged to me. Having a gun shoved up you. Selling the stuff is unhinged, but you know, there's people who make jewelry out of that kind of stuff. And this one, basically, she's a witch who reads her tarot cards and is like, how weird. I keep pulling the devil card, and the devil is like a pumpkin-headed man, and then turns out she like accidentally summons him, and then they fuck, and then yeah. It was very short, I'll give it that, but don't know if I recommend it. Whew. The next one in the post is Scream for the Scarecrow. I don't know if maybe KU's different in Canada versus the States. This one wasn't on KU. I'd have to pay for it. And I think that there are enough other books within this post that I can safely skip one of them. Which means we're going to move on to Crow, which is by the same author. But maybe it will not be a pumpkin-headed man romance, because I think I've read enough of those for now. As he pulled out his sack hanging heavy with the unspent eggs, he noticed its skin had turned blue. He had literally given himself blue balls. Sure. Let's go with that. Okay, I have now finished Crow. In terms of enjoyability, I did not enjoy it. It is about this main character, and we are mostly from the guy's perspective this time, which is at least changing it up. And he's been cursed to, like, be a crow, but then the Baba Yaga helps him, and he can, like, kind of shift into a human form, but he retains, like, crow claws and beak. So he is, like, pining for this woman, and obviously he's cursed, and how do you solve curses? True love's first kiss. So basically he goes to seduce her, but, like, he's been stalking her for years, and I find that super creepy and not romantic at all in this romance book. He lays eggs in her, and, like, he does it in her butt first, and then in the epilogue they actually do it for procreation purposes. Why am I reading so many breeding stories? I hate pregnancy. I enjoy it slightly more than Jack, just because this had a plot. I was into the lore with the, like, Baba Yaga, but not a fan of the breeding. Next is Carving for Cara by Melissa McSherry and Dana Leanne. This one, based on the cover, kind of looks like a Haunting Adeline parody. I haven't read Haunting Adeline, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Her head falls back as her hungry swallows the cob of corn deeply with each thrust. Country girls make do. When I filmed the next clip, I apparently had the wrong camera on. So I filmed the wall. Instead of showing you the wall, I am going to show you the cover of the book, and my sincere apologies. I finished Carving for Cara, and this had the sin of being both not good and also boring. Cause, like, I signed up for Unhinged, and the most unhinged thing was the corn thing, which has been a joke on Tumblr for years now. And it was just this dude who, like, sees a girl in a coffee shop and is like, she's my little nightmare, stalks her, kills her ex, and then fucks her in a cornfield. And you know what? The stalker element, unhinged, psychopathic, but not in the way that I'm here for, you know? Like, when I signed up for Unhinged KU romances, I signed up for pumpkin-headed dudes, ghosts. I didn't sign up for psychopathic men. That's not fun. It's hard to decide how unhinged it is, though, because, like, he was definitely unhinged. He was a stalker. But not unhinged in the, like, fluids tasting like pumpkin spice way. So I'm probably gonna give this, like, bottom of the barrel for Unhinged, because there wasn't anything fun unhinged about it, and it's also gonna rank pretty far down in enjoyability because it was unhinged in the non-fun way. I have 3 of them left, I think. I'm hoping we return to some fun unhingeability. I'm literally on the 2nd page, and there's already an undead maid that lacked a tongue but was wondrously skilled. 2nd page. We're just no foreplay at all, straight into it. So I finished Bad to the Bone, and I think the only good thing I could say about it is that it was short. This one had 0 plot. Essentially, right off the bat, from page 2, we're intercoursing. Loose plot is that there's this lich who emerges one night a year on Samhain. I know that's not how it's actually pronounced. So this lich emerges on one night a year, and it's the only day of the year that his chosen maiden can get off. So he, like, feeds on the magic she releases when she arrives. There was group, there was water sports, and this was only like 30 pages long. In terms of unhingedness, like, there was nothing about it that was particularly different than what I would have had in just like regular erotica. There was a thing with like the tusks of an orc holding things, but other than that, the lichness didn't really come into anything unique. Maybe above carving for Cara, just because like there were orcs and tusks and a skeleton man involved. At least it wasn't just humans, but nothing like fluids that turn into gummy bears, you know? It was just bad. I didn't enjoy that one. I have 2 left now. The next one is Halloween Mating. This one's like 76 pages, so maybe we'll get some more substance to this one. Yeah, I'll give you some updates how that's going. So I finished Alien Mating. It did have more plot than the last one. So this woman, Samantha, goes to a Halloween party and she is being hit on by this guy. And so she like picks a random dude out of the party and is like, sorry, my boyfriend's there. And who she picks happens to be an alien. And of course it's fated mates. So purple sparkly lights go off and oh no, they are mates. And she doesn't realize what that means yet, so she doesn't think anything of it. She just wants to get off. So they have some fun in the pantry, and then she blacks out because she's drunk, and he takes her home, very respectful, very mindful. And then in the morning, she's like, who are you? Why am I bad? Oh, I'm your mate. They have sex again. And then she's like, but I don't really believe in the whole mates thing. So then he has to win her over. And literally the way that he wins her over is he gets a text from her favorite game show, which is like a Bachelor type thing. And she's like, no, don't, you're mine. And that was it. And then in the epilogue, he seeds her because breeding. These are getting kind of boring at this point because I think I started too high. You know, I started with the pumpkin-headed dudes. I started with Sleepy Hollow and the guns and the axe. And now I've just hit like, he's an alien, so he's always hard. That was like the only special. There was barely any Halloween in this other than them meeting at a Halloween party. I have one left. It's called Haunt Me. I'm assuming it's going to be about a ghost. And I'm hoping we get something unhinged. The other ones have been like 60 pages, 80 pages, maybe like 120. This one's 518. I don't read 518 page books when it's something that I actually do want to read. Like Babbel's been on my shelf for over a year now. I loved Yellowface, been intimidated by Babbel, and now I'm reading a 518 page book for this? I broke out the alcohol because I'm gonna need it. I'm sorry, you wrote a book with Faye in it, and you named a character Farah? Like, it isn't a main character, but your other characters are named Kieran and Clint, and you named one Farah. What a choice. Before I went to bed last night, I got to 30%, and this morning I got to 55% of Haunt Me. A lot more narratively focused than some of the other ones. Okay, so in Haunt Me, our main character is this woman who belongs to a lineage of like phantoms, and like when you turn 25 you can become a phantom, but she gets killed when she's only 24, so instead of becoming a phantom she becomes a ghost, and it was one of her family members that killed her. She goes back to her like house, and there's all these different houses of different mythological creatures. So phantoms are just like revealed and people didn't know they exist, so a bunch of different houses go to where the phantoms are to try and recruit them to be in their house. And it turns out that one of the half fae, half vampire guys can see her as a ghost, even though no one else, even her family who are phantoms, can see her. And then one of her cousins is killed, and so the different houses of supernatural creatures are trying to find out who killed her cousin. Meanwhile, she can only be seen by this half fae, half vampire guy. So obviously this is a romance. They have a mutual attraction to each other. And it took 47% of the book for the first time they do anything, which wasn't even like full. It was voyeurism because she's a ghost, so she can't actually touch anything. World building, interesting. In terms of unhingedness, not there yet. Yes, there's mythological creatures involved, but I don't think a romance being a supernatural romance necessarily makes it unhinged. I would like to thank Kindle for having a assistive reader that can go to 3.7 speed, because I am trying to breeze through this as fast as I can because I was not banking on having to read a 500-page book for this video. So I'm gonna try and finish that as fast as I possibly can, and then we'll do final ranking. Quick update because I have to leave in like 15 minutes to do something. I finished Haunt Me. I literally had to double check the Instagram post because this one did not fit in thematically with most of the other ones. Apparently it was only chosen because the person who made the post wanted to make a boobies pun, and this was the only ghost one they could find. Definitely more focus on the fantasy than the romance in this, in my opinion. And it was so hella long compared to the others. Not unhinged. Other than if you find supernatural romances to be unhinged inherently. I gotta get going, so I am gonna sign off this update now, and I will come back with my final rankings in 2 seconds. It's been a couple days, but on this handy post-it note, I have the definitive ranking of unhingedness of these KU unhinged romance reads. And I have divided them into 3 categories. The first category is Tumblr would scare you. As someone who spent their formative teenage years on Tumblr, on fanfiction.net, and even younger than that, on LiveJournal, these are ones that, like, if these are what you consider unhinged, you would not have survived Tumblr back when they still allowed porn. The first, lowest, for unhinged, Halloween mating. It was just an alien who was a different color, and absolutely zero, nothing unhinged about it, other than him being an alien. So that one gets lowest of the low for unhinged. Next above that was Haunt Me. Both of them were non-humans, so there was some mixture in there. She was a ghost at one point, like groping him. Slightly more unhinged than just a straightforward alien, but really the erotica in this one was bare minimum, so that gets second from the bottom. Next we have Counting for Cara. He was just a murderer and a stalker. Completely human. The fact that he killed her ex-boyfriend, a little bit more unhinged than the other two, but I've seen some things in my day on Tumblr. None of that shocking and surprising. The next tier we have I'm kink shaming you, because these are ones that were too unhinged, too in the other direction. Make our way to the worst of the worst, but the lowest one in this category was Bad to the Bone. The water sports mostly, kink shaming you for that, but otherwise, like, most of them were humanoid. Most of them just stuck normal things in normal people. So that's the lowest of the kink shaming. The one above that is Crow, because the egg thing was gross. And I am kink shaming breeding kinks. I'm sorry, that is where I draw the line. Breeding kinks. Which then we go into also Jack. Same thing, breeding kink, but we have the additional layer here of the epilogue where the main character is selling the fluids to unsuspecting people. Safe, sane, consensual. I do not think you are getting the consent of everyone, because I don't think they were disclosing what that fluid actually was. They were just calling it pumpkin syrup. You fail, out of here. But then, the worst of the worst in the kink shaming category is Jack's head. Because, girl, you're worried about the cleanliness of the weapons that he's shoving inside of you? Priorities. Where the gun's loaded, I think would be where we're going to start this. And then we can worry about whether they've been cleaned. So that one gets kink shaming. And then the final category contains the one last book, and that is the hear me out category. And in this one is Hallowpeen. Okay, hear me out. I didn't hate this one. We started on such a high note, and it just really went downhill after that. Like, yes, they had pumpkin heads. Yes, their things were shaped like gourds. But the main character was really into it. And then you got the secondary story with the man candy and that being gummy bears. Like, I don't see that as a negative. That sounds downright pleasant compared to some of the other things. Hear me out. Hallowpeen was the best of the unhinged romances and hit that sweet spot balance between unhinged but interesting. That is my seasonal dive into Kindle Unlimited unhinged romances. I hope you enjoyed the various facial expressions that I made in this video. Newly in the description box is a link to my Goodreads if you want to be friends, if you want some little sneak peeks at what I read before I post about it. Follow me on there. If you made it to the end of this video, leave in the comments a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin emoji, or let me know what the most unhinged romance you have ever read was. If you enjoyed, like and consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Jesus Christ. Actually, I'm not bringing Jesus into this. He has no place in this.